That's your policy too, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't want them in people's houses. I remember my dealer, Klaus Curtis, at the legendary Biker Gallery, said, "Who's going to buy a 9-foot-high head of someone else?" And I said, "Damned if I know. But let's see if we can get them into museums." So I heard that there was a $1,500 cutoff at the Museum of Modern Art. Anything under $1,500, a curator could buy without having to go to the trustees to pay for it. So I made my paintings $1,300. That Walker bought that piece for $1,300.
Was that Martin Friedman? Yeah.
And they took 2 years to pay it. What is that, 650 a year. My next painting went to the, well, actually it went to the backer of the gallery. Then the third one went to the Minneapolis Art Institute. The fourth one went to the Whitney. And they're all in museums.
When was your first show then? You had
And today, if I kept one of those, which I didn't, it would be $10, $15 million. But I needed the $1,300 a hell of a lot more. Well, then I need 10 or 15 million, I don't know. But, you know, but mainly it served the purpose of getting...
When was your first show? How did that come about?
My first show, you got to talk some more. I'm going to interview you. But it's funny, you know, Biker was across the street from the Campbell Funeral Home, the funeral home to the stars, and that meant the art stars as well. And whenever an abstract expressionist died, we'd get the spillover from the funeral. They'd come across the street and come in. I happened to be hanging my first show, and Al Held, who had been my teacher, Jack Dworkoff, who had been the chairman, and Philip Guston, the three of them came in. And I had fought with Al Held at Yale like crazy. You ever do that?
Everybody fights with Al Held. You're supposed to.
Yeah, well, he's not very much fighting now.
No.
Anyhow, I locked him out of my studio and all that, but he really was very, very important. I mean, he demystified what a life in art was like, how you don't get a teaching job, you go to New York, you start slamming up sheetrock, you get a truck, you start moving art, things like that. So anyhow, they came in, and I was feeling particularly nostalgic, and Al was a big, hulking bull of a like Buddha-like figure. So I put my arm around him, and I said, "You know, Al, we may have had our problems, but I have to say, I wouldn't be able to make these paintings without you." Without missing a beat, he said, "You can't hang this shit on me." My first videos,
That's great.
followed by a lot of really bad. You get bad reviews?
No, oh, never. I've heard of people who get them, and the reviews I've got, they're so homicidal. That's what I learned from Glenn. But I learned, this is what I learned from Glenn on Malone Avenue, that he had his play, which had been a big success in California. It came to New York, the Mark Hellinger Theater, produced by Oscar Hammerstein, and it ran 9 performances. And the reviews were awful, and he got into bed and in a sense never got out of bed. And I realized from Glenn that you cannot read reviews, that you cannot make, it's only a play, it can't be your whole life. You cannot believe what they say. I mean, you cannot say, you just have to keep that those reviews are in a different universe. A friend of mine wrote, there's a wonderful play at Lincoln Center called Domesticated by Bruce Norris, who won the Pulitzer Prize for Clyburn Park. He's a great buddy of mine. And he had this wonderful play that opened the other night, literally just 2 nights ago, and the review came out yesterday, and it was so god-awful and bitchy and mean and lazy. But he just says, so what? He said, that's, forget, I mean, it's just he's on to the next one already. And that's when I'm teaching, that's why when you're in class, you have to say, no matter what you say in class cannot be worse than what they say in 1 million copies of the newspaper.
Right. And in school, nothing you learn is going to be valuable. Because by the time you get out of school, you're going to abandon whatever those issues are. And a lot of people think it's essential to learn this. A lot of teachers think it's essential to teach this. It's all on-the-job training, but the things that you do learn in school are work habits,
Yes.
and you develop a thick skin, and you can take criticism and learn from it. My favorite reviews are the bad reviews. I cherish them. I got bad reviews from John Cannaday when he was the chief critic at the Times. Then I got my favorite bad criticism from Hilton Kramer. And Hilton said it took a whole page to say it too. He said, he called me a lunatic. And he said the work was the trash that washed ashore when the tide of pop art went out.
And here we are in Long Beach.